Hi, Sam Roberts here from Roberts Geospatial Engineering. Today I want to show you how to display the new imagery that we're seeing come out from the Vera C Rubin Observatory. This is a new telescope down in Chile. I'm going to show you how to display that on my own software, which is called ProRaster. So we'll go here to the rubinobservatory.org page and you'll find their first look gallery. And there are a couple of images here that we're going to look at. So firstly, this one, the cosmic treasure chest. If you click on that, you'll find the image, and then down here you can download all these different sizes. If you download this one at original size, that's a 52 megapixel image. You won't have any problem displaying that in any software, like you'll display it in Windows and so forth. The only thing that I would note about that is that it downloads as a JPEG, but it's actually a PNG file, so I don't know how they mix that up. But what I'm interested in looking is at the full resolution TIFF file, and that's here. So download the cosmic treasure chest at full resolution, 14.1 gigabytes. So we're going to download that one, and going back here to the Triffidan Lagoon image, same deal. Down here we've got download Triffid and Lagoon at full resolution, 24.1 gigabytes. So you click on those links, download those files, make sure you've got enough disk space. So I'm going to display these using ProRaster. So here's my website, robertsgeospatial.com.au. If you go to that website, you'll find information about ProRaster, links to the Microsoft Store where you can download ProRaster. You'll also find some resources on the document page. You'll get the user guide for ProRaster, so a couple of hundred pages of dense reading there. Articles. There's a data page where you can download all sorts of rasters, which you can display in ProRaster, and learn how to use the product. And of course, there's all the information about the individual products. So you get ProRaster from the Microsoft Store. So go to the store and just type ProRaster into the search bar, and you'll find these three products: ProRaster Essential, ProRaster Premium, and ProRaster Scientific. Any of those products will display this imagery, but we'll be using ProRaster Scientific today. And so ProRaster is not free, but you can download a 7-day free trial, and the software will operate 100% unrestricted for 7 days. And at the end of the 7 days, it will ask you if you want to go to the store and purchase the software. If you don't want to do that, the best thing to do is just to then uninstall the software. So there's no pressure, and no nagging or anything. You just get 7 days free. And if you really want to take food out of my mouth, you can download ProRaster Essential for 7 days, then download ProRaster Premium for the next 7 days, then Scientific for 7, and you can get 21 days free before you exhaust those free trials. So go to the Microsoft Store and get yourself the software and download that data. So I've got it downloaded here. So you can see, firstly, the cosmic treasure chest. We have a TIFF file that's 14.1 gigabytes. Now, normally to display a raster in ProRaster, the easiest way is you just pick this up, drag and drop it straight into ProRaster, and it will display. But turns out these TIFF files are not very good. They have been written using a single strip. This is the way that TIFF files can be written. They can be strips or tiles and so forth. And this thing has been written as a single strip. Now, it's a 4,000 odd megapixel image. And so the I/O library will try to load that whole thing in one hit because that's how it's been stored. And that's going to try to allocate large arrays. So if you drag and drop it straight into ProRaster, you'll probably need like 64 gigabytes of RAM for it to display. Otherwise, it kind of will fall over. But there's a workaround. So there are two different TIFF drivers in ProRaster. The first one that I wrote, and that doesn't do a very good job on this particular file. The second one is the open source GDAL library, which has a very robust TIFF driver. Now, it does a good job on this file. So that's the one that we need to use. So I'll show you how to do that. So here on ProRaster Scientific, there's a button here called Edit Raster Sources. So we press that button, it brings up the raster source editor. I'm going to hit this button to add a new raster source, and I'll call it the Cosmic Treasure Chest TIFF. Hit return. And now we just need to get our TIFF file into this raster source. So I can drag and drop that into there, and there's our TIFF file. Now, before you do anything else, don't click on it or anything else. If I click on it here, it's going to try and create a preview, and that would be bad. It's going to go away and try and allocate all this memory. So hit Advanced, and in this dialog, so these are all sorts of advanced options that you can set for the driver. So I'm going to tick this one on. Specify the driver by driver ID that will open the raster. And then you need to type in this string, rd_gdal_generic. So type that string in, and I'll leave that in the comments on the YouTube video. Hit OK. Now when you hit OK, it's going to use that GDAL driver to open the TIFF file. So I hit OK, and on my machine it's immediately displayed. On your machine it won't do that, because the first thing that it has to do is it has to create the overview files, and you can see that file here. It's a 4.7 gigabyte file. So ProRaster is going to sit there for 30 seconds or maybe a minute, and it will depend on how powerful your machine is, and it's going to process that TIFF file and generate the overview file, and once that's finished, then it will open and you can see the image displayed, and you'll be able to zoom in and so forth. But before we look at that, let's just look at our other options. So if I want to display that in the future in ProRaster, I can't just drag and drop this TIFF file in. That won't work. I have to load it via the raster source mechanism. So I can go New Algorithm, from a raster source, select that raster source, and then it will display. The other thing I can do is I can save my current algorithm. So let's save it as Cosmic Chest. And so now I have a rendering algorithm file. It's an MRD file. And I can drag and drop that into ProRaster and it will display correctly. The other thing that I can do is go to the processing button, and I can say export raster. Now you'll need ProRaster Scientific or ProRaster Premium to do this. ProRaster Essential doesn't have this option. Hit the export raster, choose my raster source, Cosmic Treasure Chest, and now it's going to output to an MRR file. So this is a different format. I'll choose quality compression because I don't want to lose, I want lossless compression. I don't want JPEG style compression or anything like that. And then hit OK, and that will then create an MRR file. I'm not going to do that right now, but here's the MRR file. So you can see that I've replaced, or I've duplicated my 18.8 gigabytes of TIFF and OVR file with this MRR file, which is 13.7 gigabytes. That I can just drag and drop straight in, and it will display. So so that's the first one. Before we go and look at the imagery, let's take a look at the second one. So recall that this is the Trifid and Lagoon image, and this is a 24.1 gigabyte download. So here it is here, 24.1 gigabytes TIFF file. Again, I can't just drag and drop. I have to do the same thing where I force it to use the GDAL driver. So I create a raster source, add new raster source, Trifid TIFF, drag that TIFF file onto there, go into the advanced button, specify the driver as rd_gdal_generic, hit OK, OK, and it will display. You can see that it looks a bit funny. We'll get to that. Same deal. When you do this, the first thing that will happen is it will start creating this OVR file. and it won't display anything until it's finished creating that file. And it's quite a large file. It's another 8 gigabyte file. That will take a minute, might take 2 minutes to generate. So you can go to a task manager and you'll see that ProRaster is ticking away working on generating that OVR file. And once it's all done, it will be displayed and you'll see this on screen. Again, you can't just drag and drop this TIFF in. You have to display it via the mechanisms that we saw before, where we go to the raster source. Or we create an MRD file and an algorithm, save that, and display it that way. Now, the problem is it doesn't look right. It doesn't look like the image. And if you look at the algorithm, it's created a lookup table color layer instead of the image layer that we would expect if this was imagery. So that's telling you that actually this TIFF file is not imagery. So if you look at the details, the first file that we looked at, the Cosmic Treasure Chest, that's a 24-bit RGB, so it's got 8 bits of color for each of the red, green, and blue bands. This particular file is a 48-bit red, green, blue image. So it has 16 bits of color for each of the red, green, and blue bands. Now, ProRaster doesn't support 16-bit color natively. There just isn't much demand for it. So it hasn't loaded it as an image. It's brought it in via a different mechanism. So we just have to do a little bit of work to turn this into an image. So over here in my algorithm, I'm going to go add layer, and I'm going to add an RGB color layer. I'm going to select the red component. So we need to edit these red, green, and blue components. And I'm going to select my raster source, which was my Triffid TIFF. And you can see that we're now displaying here in grayscale. Now I need to specify a data transform to take my 16-bit color down to 8-bit color. So I go onto the color page, and here in data transform type, I'm going to choose color transform. I'm just going to specify the number of color bits. In this case, it's 16 bits. And I'm doing this on the red component. Because this little button is ticked on, it will copy anything that I do to the green and blue components, which is what we want. But you can see that we're looking at grayscale there. That's no good. That's because we haven't connected our bands correctly to our components. So on the component page for red, here's our bands. We have 3 bands. This is red, green, and blue, although they're labeled continuous 0, 1, and 2. 0 is red. Go to the green component, select continuous 1, that's the green. Go to the blue component, select continuous 2, that's the blue. And now you can see that we're displaying our image correctly. We don't want this lookup table color layer anymore. I can delete that. And now I can save this algorithm, say as Triffid RGB. And if we delete that and just drag and drop our MRD file in, now we're displaying the thing as we expect. The other thing that you can do is you can export this image out to an MRR file. So go to your processing menu, select export image. So my output format will be MRR. My compression will be PNG. I want lossless compression. We want a 24-bit color RGB color format. Specify your file name. Say that one. Then these options here will use the full extent, resolution level 0, that's our base resolution level, so that's at the highest resolution. And it's telling you that the raster size will be 84,000 pixels by 51,500 pixels high. So we're looking at a 4,000 plus megapixel image. And then hit process, and that will do that job, and it will create that MRR for you. So over here you can see that I've already done that. So I've replaced my 32.3 gigabytes of TIFF and OVR in 16-bit color with a single MRR file of 10.5 gigabytes, and that's in 8-bit or 24-bit color. And then we can just drag and drop that file straight in. And there's our image. Okay, so that's how you display these things in ProRaster. Once you've got the image, you want a nice big monitor with nice high resolution. You can zoom in by rolling the mouse wheel and just click and drag to pan around, or you can right click, and there are various other modes. So for example, hit the pan fly mode, and now hit the control key and it will pan around in the direction that you push the mouse, and you can still roll the mouse wheel to zoom in and out as you pan around. So the thing that I really love about this image are these incredible star fields. And in this high resolution image, every little star is visible as a little ball, and you get this really amazing depth effect where you have the brighter stars larger, and then as you go deeper into space, you see the stars get dimmer and dimmer as you disappear into that star field. And in some areas, the stars kind of fade out to a point, and then they all disappear. So I presume that's because there's dust, gas, and so forth blocking the stars behind. But then in other areas, it just seems to continue infinitely into space, and you just go to sort of a background level of noise or of light. And I presume at some point, there becomes so little amount of light from the stars in the distance that the telescope just doesn't register anything anymore, and you get black. But that's an extraordinary image. Let's go back to the cosmic treasure chest. Where do I have that one? This one? This one's quite different. We're looking away from the galaxy out into all these other galaxies. You can see these circular effects. So that must be an artifact of the telescope. They're around all of the bright stars. But just amazing detail. If you zoom in, you'll just see galaxies everywhere. It's a bit like that Hubble deep space image that was so spectacular. This is M61, so you can compare this to the Hubble imagery. You'll just find it on the internet, for example. And although the Hubble image is much higher resolution, consider the amount of effort that went into getting the Hubble image compared to this particular photograph, which they can take every few seconds, all night long, every single day, forever. You know, it's just so extraordinarily cheap to acquire that amazing image. And as you zoom around, pan around, you'll just see amazing galaxies everywhere. And features like this, for example, that in the JPEGs or in the PNG files that you download, they just look like little bits of wisp. Now they resolve themselves as spiral barred galaxies, and you can see the gravitational interaction between them and so forth. And just galaxies everywhere, all different shapes and sizes. Amazing detail. You can see dust lanes in the galaxies and so forth. So you can zoom and pan around in ProRaster and just enjoy this imagery, and it will open your mind. It's quite extraordinary stuff. So I hope you enjoy that. I hope you figure that all out. Follow the instructions. You must make those raster sources. Use that mechanism to get those TIFF files. They're difficult TIFF files. They shouldn't be. They should be cloud optimized GeoTIFFs. You know, we're not in Sicily. We're living in modern times. TIFF files should be tiled, and they should be cloud optimized GeoTIFFs if they're large like this and they're going out for public consumption. But they are what they are, and ProRaster can help you to see these extraordinary images at full resolution, and help you to explore the wonder of them. So I hope you got something out of that. Thanks for watching.